In today's story, OP found out the hard way that his wife cheated on him a while back with a school principal after the shocking things he found on her phone while they were on a trip to Vegas. Let's get into the story. 6 months after discovering wife's 31 female affair partner. TLDR, if you don't want to read the entire post, wife had emotional affair for a year and a half. Working things out. I hurt and go backwards. We keep trying. Working so far. Good sex. This post was originally removed for asking a moral question of if I should tell his wife and how. It has been 5 months and I'm writing with an update of sorts. Back in February, my wife and I enjoyed a trip to Vegas gifted by my mother-in-law. Mother-in-law joined and brought some friends. All was well. One of the nights we were with my wife, mother-in-law, and her friends decided they were going to go to a club in a hotel and us guys were going to go play craps. I got tired and decided to head back to the room. I showered and patiently waited for my wife to return to the room after receiving some detailed texts about what she wanted to do to me that night. She arrived stumbling and clearly way too drunk for any kind of activity. So I undressed her and got her into bed. I plugged her phone in and was about to go to bed when her phone started blowing up from one of the friends. I answered her phone and they informed me she had left her credit card at the bar. I thanked her for telling me and ended the call. I swiped up as I usually do to close the app one I'm using and her phone displayed a text conversation that wasn't in the regular iMessage app, a telegram. Caught my eye and I thought it was strange. I opened it and discovered it was a text between her and one of her colleagues. For context, back in July of 2021 we moved states 3 hours away as my wife kept asking me to get a transfer with my job. Finally a transfer was granted and we moved from our old town to a new state. My wife was a principal of an elementary school there, and the male colleague texting her is still a principal there. There were photos shared of her in her sexy outfit she wore that night. Him telling her how hot she looked, and the last message was "Love you, baby." I didn't know what to do. I went to her photos and saw she had shared many photos with him, very intimate photos. I saved all the photos and sent them to my Google Drive account. I saved all the texts and sent screenshots to my account as well. I then went on to Facebook Messenger to see what else she had been up to. I saw that one of her ex-boyfriends was expressing how much he missed her and how he should have married her. Not me. She is so perfect, blah blah blah. He said crap like "you're thicker than a Snicker" in all the right places and send me a picture for masturbation purposes and science. She didn't engage much in that conversation but didn't cut it off either. I screenshotted that and saved it as well. I then went and deleted all the screenshots from the recently deleted photos folder, making sure she did not know I screenshotted all these things. I stayed up all night pacing as she slept drunk. I had his phone number from her phone. I saved it and screenshotted it in a Telegram app to prove it is his number in the messages. I found his address. I found his wife's name and her phone number. I found her on social media. I was ready to blow this all up, but I didn't. I love my wife and I decided to let her explain herself before I blasted them to his wife. I packed my bags and was ready to change my ticket and fly out. But again, I love my wife and this would have caused her great embarrassment if I were to be gone early in the trip, leaving her to explain to her mom and her friends where I was and what happened. So again I stayed put. I also knew that if I left there would be no room for reconciliation. By this time it was about 6 or 7 a.m. I took her phone and went downstairs to the little coffee shop and breakfast place in the hotel. I just helped myself through all of her stuff. I checked the phone statement on my phone and found out how long this had been going on. Just over a year. The first text came through in December of 2020, and then they stopped in December of 2021. But clearly they continued talking through the app until February of 2022. All the vacations, dates, and fun little things we did together, I could only assume she was texting him with me right next to her. I bought her a coffee, an orange juice, a Red Bull, and a bottle of water so she could sober up when she woke up because we weren't going anywhere. I went back to the room and plugged her phone in. I had everything. I had the idea to log into the Telegram app they were using to talk on my phone's web browser so I could see all the messages between them. I sat on the bed next to her. Sad, angry, heartbroken, and just in disbelief. Finally, at about 11 o'clock she started stirring. She told me to come lay with her, but I just went and sat next to her. She immediately knew something was wrong when I got into bed with her. I guess she could just feel it. She immediately jumped up and turned to me and asked me what was wrong before I had even said a word. All I said was, "Who's Greg?" She immediately got defensive and sighed. She asked why I would go through her phone like that. I told her what had happened and I wasn't snooping through her phone. I explained that someone called and I saw it. She jumped up and grabbed her phone and went to the bathroom. I opened the app and saw she had sent him a message. I left the app open last night. He saw it. Then she deleted it. She deleted all of the messages. So they disappeared in my web browser as well. But I already had them saved. He replied with, "Oh no crap. Am I in trouble?" I couldn't help but laugh. This guy is 41 years old, a principal, asking if he was in trouble. I found it funny that he did not give a crap to ask how she was. He wasn't worried if I was angry. He wasn't worried if she was okay. She came out of the bathroom and I showed her my phone and said, "You're really going to go text him right now?" She started crying and I began asking all of the questions I wanted answered. Questions I knew the answers to. Some questions I did not. I asked if she screwed him. I asked how long it had been going on. I asked if he had ever been in my bed or in my home. I asked if she loved him. The answer to these questions was no, no, no. I wanted to go to his house. I wanted to burn it down. I wanted to do physical harm to him. But I have a precious daughter and a very good job that requires a security clearance. I finally lost the urge to confront him or hurt him, but I still have the urge to let his wife know. The problem is my wife does not want me to. She says because of embarrassment, shame, guilt, but I wonder if it is that or me finding out something she didn't tell me or lied to me about. Who knows, but I want AP's wife to know. She deserves to know. I wanted to post his and her phone numbers here that night, but I thought they might get me banned as well as into some civil trouble. We have very close friends there. Some of our friends' kids still visit us in our new state and our new home. Some friends are still principals there and work in the school system in the small town. The affair partner's wife does as well, so there are small circles that intersect. Recently, going back through the cell phone records, I remembered that we had attended a marriage conference in February of 2021. Sure enough, there's his number on the same dates as the conference. He actually attended the same marriage conference with his wife. It just got worse, it seemed. I also saw that she talked with him on the phone on her birthday, August of 2021, while I was arranging a surprise party. She was on the phone for 45 minutes. I practically had to drag her to dinner that night with about 40 people waiting to surprise her. When she saw all the people, she cried and told me she loved me so much that night. I had no idea. I went through my phone and deleted every picture from December 2020 to February 2022 that was intimate of us, hugging or kissing, or some sexy photos she had sent me, or photos of us together on some random trip we had taken. I couldn't delete the pictures of my daughter at the same time, but they make me sad knowing what I know now, that she was likely talking to him and coming home to me. Update from the first post and removal. She removed the lock from her phone. She has given me full access to her phone. I told her I want couples therapy. I want her to go to individual therapy. She refused couples therapy but went to individual therapy. I asked again for couples therapy and she refused again. I finally told her she does not get to dictate how this goes. She goes to couples therapy or she leaves. I told her I would not move out. She could move out. My daughter stays with me as I will be in the house and she needs to stay in her environment that she knows. She was livid. Said that I would kick her out and keep our daughter from her. I said I would never keep her from her mom, but I would have full custody and she could see every other weekend. She finally agreed. She cried. She apologized. She explained most of it to me, but it's only been 5 months and I keep getting questions in my head and ask them. She gets so upset when I bring it up. I told her again. I'm sorry that my grief is inconvenient to her happiness. I told her she does not get to just move on like she wants to. She just thinks if we don't talk about it, it will disappear and we will be fine. I started going to the gym. I am looking better. She has noticed other women starting to give me attention. Good-looking, fit women. She admits she made a huge mistake and she messed up so badly. She is working on fixing things. So far, I believe her. The sex has been great. She pleasures me a few times a week apart from the sex 5 to 6 times a week. I still get distant from her occasionally. I still get sad. I still get depressed. but we are working through it. I still want to tell the wife, but I don't want to risk the progress we have made this far. My therapist asked if that would make my situation any better and what would the repercussions be. So here we are. I guess just letting you guys know it's possible. I see so many posts. How do I move on? What do I do? Is it possible? It is, but it still sucks. I still wonder. I logged into the Telegram account recently and saw he either blocked her or deleted his account. So there is that. 1 foot at a time. Hey OP. Props to you for staying strong in such a difficult situation. I can only imagine how painful it would be to find out that your wife cheated on you with a school principal. I see that you're trying to reconcile with her by going through counseling, but I personally would cut ties with her and let karma serve its justice. I would definitely recommend telling the affair partner's wife and even reporting it to the school so he can hopefully get fired. Then I would recommend serving your wife with divorce papers and fighting to get full custody of your daughter. Reason being is that your wife decided to cheat on you and in return has completely disrupted your family. Ultimately, she deserves to pay the consequences for her actions. Let's see what the comments had to say about the situation. My issues and stuff said, tell the wife, period. You absolutely would want to know, right? She supposedly stopped, and I get you're trying to get your hardest to keep it together. But she is clearly not. Sorry you're dealing with this, but it sounds like you're just rug sweeping and love bombing. Again, wouldn't you want to know? Or are you just fine with being complicit in her affair? Happy Tragedy 15 said, these are the posts I always comment on here. Please tell the wife. This is coming from a wife who was cheated on and didn't find out until 12 years later. Finding out so long after absolutely destroyed me and I'm still not recovered. I thought we had a great marriage. Now I don't know if it was all a facade. I question every aspect of the life we shared now and I have lost the ability to trust. That happens to everyone who is cheated on. But it is even deeper than that because I didn't know he was capable of looking me in the eyes and lying so easily to me for so long. He made me realize that you can think you know someone better than anyone, but in reality you can never really know them if they can lie so easily. Whiskey Tango 7734 said, if you decide to stay with your wife and that it is the best for you and your family, at the very least go see a family lawyer in your new state. Be sure to ask if postnuptial arrangements are valid in your state. If they are, then make your wife sign one if she wants to stay. If she isn't willing to do that, then she expects to do it again. Make sure you control the money going forward. Ensure you have everything you need if you need to cut her out of your life. If she stays and remains true to you, great. But if not, then you have what you will need. Good luck. Thanks for taking the time to listen to today's story. Don't forget to like and subscribe. My wife and I were married for 10 years. Our anniversary party was coming up, and I couldn't believe I was lucky enough to find someone to be with for so long. We knew everything about each other and were best friends. Our zodiac signs were soulmates, so maybe that explains it. I did see that her sign can be known for cheating, but I ignored that, and for 10 years it was fine. We had a daughter 3 years into our marriage. My wife worked the same career all those years, and she was about to receive her biggest raise yet, just before our planned summer family vacation. It really seemed like I found true love and would always have her. The night she got home from getting her raise, she was flustered and blown away at the good news. She acted like it hadn't sunken yet. I thought I saw an expression on her face that looked blown away and worried about something. I asked if she was having trouble believing her own success, and she forced a laugh and said yeah. She wasn't convincing me. I knew something else was going on. But when I tried asking, she said she was fine and only pleasantly surprised. I didn't know what else to say, but her cheating on me did not cross my mind. Then she said something weird. Before she went into our bedroom, she said her boss is incredible, and she was lucky he likes her so much. This made me do a double take. It sounded weird, and I think she realized she slipped by saying it that way. The next day was the same day as our anniversary party. As we got ready, she got a phone call, and it was her boss. She dismissed herself to talk in the office, which she normally did, so she could write stuff down for later. Unbeknownst to my wife, I snuck right up against the door to listen to their conversation. At first, she just thanked him again for the raise, and then she got really quiet. She whispered that she was glad she could thank him properly, that he was really amazing, and that she wanted to feel him again. Then she asked him if there were any security cameras that could see into his office. She was quiet for a beat, then said that was good, because no one could find out what they were doing, or they'd be fired. I was putting together a pretty clear picture in my head. I wanted to barge into the room and tell her I heard everything, but I decided to make an announcement at our anniversary party. I had to do something that would force me to follow through with confronting her and divorcing her. I was sure she just confirmed out loud that she slept with her boss in his office. I stood paralyzed outside the door until she came out. She was really worried I was standing so close. She was trying to figure out if I was okay, but I just plastered on this fake smile. She asked if I was ready, and we left. I was like a zombie, and she was antsy. She only smokes cigarettes when she's really stressed out, and on the way there she lit one. She tried asking me again if I was okay, and I know she really wanted to ask if I heard her conversation. We arrived at the venue, and I turned to her to say, "Let's go celebrate our 10-year marriage, wife." I sounded like a robot in the absence of anger, and she knew I heard them, but she couldn't bring herself to talk to me about it. We went inside, and she sat there sweating until I got up to give a speech. I let her sit there for a while, taking my time to calmly greet our friends and family and pretend everything was fine. Our 7-year-old was there too. She was at my parents' for the week to give my wife and I time to ourselves as an anniversary present. Seeing all of our loved ones and daughter made my wife start itching herself a lot. She looked like she was going through withdrawals. Her face was red, and people actually started circling her, saying she didn't look good. She swore she was fine, but people could see her skin was slick with sweat. I took this as an opportunity. I told everyone in a loud and clear voice that my wife was having an affair with her boss. Everyone gasped, and my wife fainted. Since our family and friends aren't heartless, they started fanning her and got a cold cloth for her forehead. The old-fashioned thing to do, I guess. When she came to, she was so ashamed she couldn't speak. She finally said she wanted to go home, and I asked her what home. She started bawling and ran to the bathroom. I thanked everyone for coming and picked up my daughter and took her home. We were in bed while my wife called a few times. 2 other people called, but I didn't hear any of it because I was asleep. I think I felt so content that I found out the truth before long and followed through with kicking her out. I found out later that one of my wife's cousins let her stay at her house. That wasn't all that was going to change, though. I emailed their company's HR about what happened. They got back to me a week later, thanking me for the information and informing me proper action was taken. My wife called me first. She said I was a low slime bag for ruining her and her boss's careers that they worked towards their whole life. I told her she was a low slime bag for ruining our marriage after I worked hard for her and our daughter for 10 years of my life. How could she ever look up to her mother again? I didn't hear from her until visitation with our daughter started after our divorce. I've already found a woman with a daughter of her own that's done things for me my ex never would have considered. But it's bittersweet because I realized I wasted a lot of time trusting her. OP, I am sorry your wife made the dishonorable decision to sleep with her boss as a thank you for a raise, and that she had the nerve to talk to him on the phone about it behind your back. She obviously didn't realize the magnitude of her mistake and that they wouldn't get away with this consequence-free. I am glad to hear what steps you took to get her out of your life and own up to her mistake. She deserved every minute she felt uncomfortable or sick because of her actions. She didn't consider you were her daughter, who looked to her for an example of how a woman and wife behaves. It's a shame, and I'm glad you have a second chance at living life with a better, more trustworthy woman. I wish you all the best with your situation. Now let's get into our second story for today. My wife, 35 of 2 years, had been working as a college professor for a few years when the story took place. She had worked hard for several years to get this job, and she had every right to be proud of herself. Her parents certainly were. She had a huge graduation and new job party with the whole family in town. We even waited to get married per her request so that she could ensure her dream job. This was what she was all about, and I couldn't imagine her doing anything that would jeopardize her job or our future together. But I wouldn't be here today if she didn't. She became good friends with some of her students. They were in their late 20s, so they were similar enough in age, but I did think it was a little weird that she was friends with them while also being their professor. It didn't seem like a very professional choice, but I hesitated to tell her my opinion. She actually went to some of the parties they had. As far as what she told me, it was more like a group get-together, much more chill than a party. She said they even discussed some of the lesson topics with her because that's just how passionate and focused her students were. I just let it keep happening. I really wish I would try to convince her to stop mixing her dream job with pleasure, but she was so happy. She really was on top of the world and felt like she was making a difference in their lives. She always came home at a reasonable time because she didn't want to leave me alone all night, and she never went out more than 2 times a month. I knew something was wrong when she stayed out until 2 a.m. I was awake and waiting for her, and we had a fight. She said she was just helping her students, but this was unacceptable to me. I demanded to know what was really going on, but she wouldn't say anything different. I asked her not to socialize with students for a while, and she freaked out. She called me controlling and started crying. She claimed to be a responsible woman that deserved to live her life freely, especially when she found someone that made her so happy. My eyes went wide. She quickly corrected herself to say something and said she was mixing up words because I was confronting her and she was tired. I was so concerned by her mistaken wording, but I didn't have it in me to argue any more that night. I couldn't ask her to take off work either. I wasn't sure how or when I was going to bring this up again. I knew I should, but I thought I'd just wait to see what else she was going to do. For a while, everything calmed down. She didn't stay out and only went to work and came home. It was great, but she still had to grade papers at home, and for that I left her alone to study. I then walked in on her texting someone, and it made her jump out of her skin. That was weird, but I didn't draw attention to it. I thought about checking her phone later, but she had a code on it. I decided I was going to set up an opportunity for her to bring students to the house, but I'd secretly be hiding nearby. I needed to know who these people were and if something else was going on. She fell for it super quickly. As soon as I said I was going to spend an evening with my mom in the nursing home, she was thrilled. She said I was so sweet for going and offered to give me a ride and then pick me up later. To throw her off, I agreed and walked back to the house. Took 20 minutes. I wasn't sure what I was going to find, but I still had trouble picturing my wife doing anything less than honorable. A few times I told myself I was crazy and started walking back to my mom, but then I turned back around again. When I got there, I could see a different car outside her house. She expected to have all the time she needed to do whatever she wanted and then come pick me up. Seeing the mystery car fueled me, and I ran to the front door. I unlocked it with shaking hands and saw the most disturbing thing I'd ever seen. My wife was having sex with her student. Before either of them put their pants on, I took a picture. It's a high-tech world now. I took my phone out when I saw the mystery car so I'd be prepared to take a picture of whatever my wife was up to. If it was all good, I would have been the crazy one, but now she was. It all started to hit me after she got her pants on and her student ran outside. She started yelling God knows what while my head started pounding. I could only hear my heartbeat as I thought about how our marriage was over, and the future I expected to have with her was a false hope. Her career was over. She'd never be allowed to teach at this school again. The next school would want to know why she was fired from this school. I snapped out of it and demanded to know why she risked everything she worked so hard to build for one of the first students she ever had. She stared at me blankly and then said he asked her to hang out with him, and she didn't expect anything bad to happen. I started yelling when I said something bad has definitely happened. She brought him to our house and opened her legs. She started flipping me off and screaming at me, saying it wasn't her fault and I stopped them from finishing, so it shouldn't even count. My jaw dropped. I told her she was so shockingly wrong in her logic that I couldn't even argue with her. I packed my bags and got hotel room. I didn't feel like arguing with her anymore that night about who was going to be the one to leave. It felt like I was talking to a spoiled brat that expected to get away with this because of everything she accomplished prior to it. I was not going to stick around, and I wasn't going to let her keep her job either. I filed for divorce and sent the picture to the president of the college just as I suspected she was fired. She hated me and could not look me in the eye at any of our future interactions. I never saw her eyes again. She went from a confident, flawless, overachieving woman to one of shame and disgrace. Her parents couldn't even believe it and actually asked me to send them the picture. I did reluctantly. They apologized to me. My wife didn't work for any colleges in the state. After waiting a few years, she moved out of state, probably because she couldn't get a job no matter where she applied. I have started dating again, but I will not be quick to believe I know someone's personality or that they'll remain trustworthy at all times. P. I am so sorry your wife betrayed you by bringing one of her students into your house and sleeping with him. It's despicable, and I can only imagine how surprised you were. Given how hard she had to work to get this job and how happy she was, you would have thought she'd be able to make the honorable choice not to risk her marriage or job. I congratulate you for taking the steps you needed to, knowing when you had to leave, filing for divorce, and showing the college president evidence of what she'd done. She had so much support and a great future ahead of her, and she flushed it down the toilet because she couldn't resist one of the first men she encountered as a professor. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed